Hi everybody, we're going to cover the UK driving test, what's going to happen from the start of the driving test, all the way through the driving test to the finish of the driving test, what sort of manoeuvres you're going to get and what the examiner's going to expect you to do. So you've took your driving lessons, you've got your driving test booked and it's tomorrow or next week or next month and you want to know exactly what's going to happen from start to finish on your driving test. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to drive into the test centre 5 minutes before your driving test. Now, it's quite important. Don't drive into the test centre before 5 minutes before your driving test because you're probably going to get an examiner coming out and saying you need to get out of the test centre because you're in the way of the previous driving test. And it will stipulate that on the email that is sent you when you book your driving test. So you've turned up at the test centre 5 minutes before. If you've got a car park in the test centre, you want to reverse into the parking bay because they're going to expect you to drive out that parking bay, or they might even give you a manoeuvre at the beginning of the driving test. So if you've got a parking space, reverse into that space, get yourself in between the white lines so it's nice and neat, secure the car, and obviously because it's COVID at the moment, make sure your windows are down, make sure you've got face masks, and if you're taking your own car, make sure you bring along a spare interior mirror for the driving test examiner. Now if you forget one, or you haven't got one, then it's not the end of the world, but it's probably going to annoy the examiner that it says that on the email about bringing an interior mirror if you're going to bring your own car. Now, if you're going to bring your own car, make sure the seat belts work, there's no lights on the dashboard, the tyres are all in good working order, and especially make sure the car's definitely clean inside, because if it's not clean inside, they're not going to entertain you. They'll open the door and say, "Can't take it, it's dirty inside." So make sure it's clean, make sure the windows are all clean, make sure the dashboard's clean down. And I know it sounds like it's a bit over the top, but it's COVID, isn't it? And that's what they want to, that's what it says, make sure the car's clean. Now, if you're going with an instructor, it will be clean. They're going to make sure it's clean inside and out, so don't worry about that. Bring along your provisional driving license and your theory test certificate. That needs to come along because every now and then the examiner's going to ask for that theory test certificate to prove that you've booked it all. And there's going to be one or two people say, well, you can't book it without it. Well, it does say on the email, bring it along. So bring it along and make sure you got the provisionals, because there was someone at the test centre the other day and they brought the passport and some ID and they got refused straight away. So it's your provisional driving licence and your theory test certificate. So you're parked up, reverse into the bay, remember, and you're waiting for the examiner to come out. Remember, face masks are on, windows are down. It's got to have at least 2 windows down on the opposite side. So if there's 2 front ones down, that's fine. I tend to have my 2 front ones down and the 2 back ones probably about a few inches down to get more air circulating. And when the examiner comes out, they're probably going to wear blue gloves as well as the face masks, and they're going to have their iPad. They're going to shout you over and ask you for your ID. At that point, they're going to ask you to lower your face mask so they can check that it's you on the picture. So don't be surprised if it happens. They're just checking. And then, next thing what's going to happen is you're going to walk over and do your eyesight test. And if you're struggling with an eyesight test, then it might be wise to get an eye test appointment to make sure your eyes are fine. Because if you read that reg plate wrong, they'll ask you again, and they might even measure it to double check, and if you still read it wrong, you can't take your driving test. So make sure that the eyesight test is fine. It should be fine. You know, that's one of the first things that you do when you have your lesson with your instructor. So you've done your eyesight test, everything goes fine, you walk into the car, they're going to ask you a question at this point, and there's show me, tell me questions, and the tell me question, which is what happens at the beginning, where the examiner's going to ask you a question, and it could be something similar like, open the bonnet please and just show me where the windscreen washer's kept and how you check it needs filling. Okay, if you're not sure of the questions, what they are, I'll put a link below in the description of a full list of questions for you if you need to check them, and the answers to go with them at the same time. So yeah, you're going to get asked that question at the beginning, and there's going to be numerous questions that they can ask you. They could ask you to tell me what the minimum tread depth for the tyre is and what safe condition it should be in. Okay, so you've asked the question, you've answered it. Now, if you've answered the question wrong, and I had that happen to someone the other day, they rushed in and said the wrong answer straight away and realised and said the right answer afterwards. It's too late at that point. You picked up a driving fault. for answering the wrong question. So when they ask you that, just wait for a second, take a deep breath, and then answer the question clearly and correctly, obviously, at that point. Save yourself a silly driver fault. The examiner's going to go walk around the car, check in to make sure the tyres are fine, make sure the actual outside of the car is not damaged, like the rear brake lights, and this is standard stuff that they're going to do. And if you're bringing your car along, make sure these things are fine also, because if you've got a ball tyre or a half flat tyre, they're not going to take it out. So make sure the car's in good condition. Then they're going to get in the car, and they're going to set the number of the instructor. So they've got the ADI number on the green badge that's in the window. It should be displayed. That's normal. They're going to say to you, would you like me to explain the driving test to you? Say yes, please, if you don't mind explaining it, exactly what's going to go on. And they'll say, right, okay, tests will last between 36 to 40 minutes, you know, depends on the road and traffic conditions, but averaging about 38-40 minutes, you know, on the fact that you're going to drive at reasonable speeds. And along that driving test, they're going to actually expect you to do one manoeuvre. So it could be the reverse into a parking space, it could be forward into a parking space, park on the right, or parallel parking. So they're the 4 manoeuvres, and 1 in 4 people will get asked to do the emergency stop. So you're going to get asked 1 manoeuvre, and then 1 in 4 will get asked to do the emergency stop. So if you get asked to do the emergency stop, it's a bonus, because they're going to have to pull you over and they're going to have to talk about it and tell you what's going to happen. So along that way, they'll say there's going to be 20 minutes of independent driving. So it's going to be either sat-nav or road signs. And if they bring a sat-nav along, it's going to be pre-programmed, so you don't have to do anything. And they're going to plonk it on the dashboard, depending where it's safe. It's going to be facing you. If the volume's not high enough, ask them to turn the volume up. If you're one of the people that don't like the volume on, ask them to turn the volume off. You know, because everyone's different. Everyone reacts different with sat-navs. So remember, it's your driving test, not theirs. They're there to assess you. So the sat-nav could come on at the beginning, or it could be road signs at the beginning, or it could be halfway through your driving test or towards the end. And it all depends on the test route. And with test routes, depends on the area. Some are easy than others, but they all cover the same sort of thing. 20 minutes of independent driving, a driving test manoeuvre in there, driving on through the town centre possibly, driving through rural areas like countryside stuff. So it's going to be a varied stuff of road conditions and traffic to kind of contend with. That should give you a good driving test route. When you're driving along, they're also going to ask you the show me question. And what they're going to say to you is, when it's safe to do so, can you show me how to... And then they'll ask you that question. Now, when they ask you that question, you don't have to rush to do it. You've got to remember, if you're going up gears, carry on going up gears. If you're going to come to a left turn or a right turn, keep doing what you're doing and answer the question after when it's safe. And an example would be, when it's safe to do so, can you show me how to use the horn? That's just one of them, and I'll put a link below to all the questions and answers there. So if you need to know them at the same time, they're there as well. Also, now along the way, they're going to ask you to pull over 5 times, possibly 6 times, and they'll say, can you pull over where it's convenient, safe and legal? So obviously check your mirrors, signal if people are around to let them know you're pulling over, and when you're pulling over, remember you're practicing this where it's convenient, safe and legal. And occasionally they'll say, can you pull over behind that car, one car length behind it? Don't worry about the driveway if there's a driveway there. That sort of thing they'll say. And what they're checking there for is that you're going to move off from an angled start, so you're going to go round the car safely. So that's also what they do. So, and remember, when you're driving along on your driving test, you could do an emergency stop with the examiner, you know, like it's planned, or it could also be, and this could also happen, someone might step out in front of you, so you might have to do a proper emergency stop when it's actually not planned, so be prepared for that. Yeah. You're driving to the test centre, and if you've not done a manoeuvre at this point, they're going to pull you over, and they're going to say to you, we just stop here please on the left, and what I want you to do is drive forward to the right or left, get yourself parallel to the bays and reverse into a parking space. So they give you a manoeuvre at the end if they can't get one on the beginning or on the test route. And remember, it's only one manoeuvre you're going to get. Once you finish the actual driving test and you're in the bays at the end, so whether you're driving in at the end or whether you're going to reverse in, depends on the examiner, they'll ask you to secure the car and turn the engine off. At that point, the test is finished. And all they're going to do then is to say, I want to be a minute, just got to tick a few boxes, and then they'll say to you, congratulations, you've passed your driving test. You've got a few faults here, you've got 4 faults for whether it be hesitation, whether it be appropriate speeds, whether it be observations moving off, I don't know. But they'll tell you what the faults are. And they'll email you the actual result at the same time. Now, if you do pass, they're going to ask you for your driving licence, and they're going to process your driving license so you get your new driving license through, so it's going to be a pink one at that point. And they'll also give you a blue test certificate saying you passed your driving test. Keep it safe, because if you've got a car to drive that evening or that next day, that can go in your glove compartment as proof that you've passed. If you don't pass the driving test, by the way, let's say unfortunately you've not passed the driving test on this occasion, and you've got a serious for this or a dangerous for this, and you've got faults for this, and they'll tell you what they are, they'll give you a debrief on it, and they'll also send you an email so you can kind of work on your faults with your family member or your instructor. Now, something to think about: if you do pass your driving test, remember, be safe on the roads, and I hope this video has helped you. If it has, fantastic, and good luck on the test when it comes up.